The Crew Mission Deep Sea. This is the sequel, or I should say the reboot of the original The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. Just like the original, this game features trick-taking gameplay and the cooperative gameplay. Now we're all playing together, trying to accomplish different things depending on the scenario. And like the original game, also here we have different scenarios. There's going to be a logbook giving us again, different challenges. If you play them in order, they represent a story of exploration. This time we're at the bottom of the sea instead of in space. But the idea is still that there's going to be, again, a series of missions that if you play them together and in order, create an overarching narrative, and they will set different parameters. Once you have your mission, once you set up your goals and the tasks you're trying to accomplish, then you're playing a trick-taking game. But again, with the main difference that instead of trying to win alone against the others, you're trying to win together with your team. You're gonna shuffle this deck, you're gonna assign all the cards to every player, trying to give them, as equal a number of cards as possible. With 3 players, 1 player will have an extra card. And we have different kinds of regular suits with numbers from 1 to 9. And then we have a trump suit represented by submarines. There are only 4 cards. The values are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once you shuffle all the cards and give them to all players, then somebody will have received, by necessity, the 4 of submarines, so the 4th trump. The player becomes the captain. And the captain will have a very important role of starting to choose the tasks. This is the biggest change and really the only significant change from the original game, which is now you're gonna have this deck of tasks representing things that the players need to achieve in order to win the game. So the logbook will still set the general framework for the mission, including the level of difficulty, plus other limitations and challenges, such as maybe you need to work in real time, maybe a certain card needs to be played in a certain way. But then there will be individual tasks that need to be assigned to players and that they're trying to achieve. In order to win the game, you need to complete the mission within the parameters indicated on the logbook based on the mission you selected from there, and the group needs to be able to fulfill all of the tasks. So the way it works is also based on the number of players. So this kind of regulates gameplay better than in the original game because the difficulty is going to be more closely tailored to the number of players. Meaning, suppose that from the logbook we've chosen to play a mission that has a difficulty of 5. Then we're going to draw cards from this deck looking at the band referring to the number of players that we have, and we draw cards until we match the difficulty of the mission exactly. Suppose we have 4 players, so we're only going to look at this band, and the mission is difficulty 5, so this one is good. We take it, but then we cannot take that one because it will bring us to 7, that's too much. It will bring us to 6, that's too much. There you go. Now we have the tasks that need to be completed for our 4-player level 5 mission, and the tasks are that a player will need to win a trick using a 6 of any suit, and the player with this card will win none of the first 4 tricks. So starting with the captain can choose to take one of those or to pass, and then the cards are assigned. So suppose the captain takes this one, the second player takes that one, and after that it's cooperative trick-taking, again, with possible unique rules coming from the logbook for the current mission, which is first player will play a card, players must follow suit if they can. If they can't, they can play a trump card, and once everybody played a card, if only one trump card was played, the player who played it wins the game. If multiple trump cards were played, the highest trump wins, so the player takes that trick. If no trump cards were played, then the player who played the card with the highest value in the leading suit wins the trick. And that's it. And that's how you will play trying to fulfill these missions. Communication is going to be super limited, otherwise it will be the fun. You can just coordinate. Basically the best way of communicating is by keeping a strict eye on what other players are playing, and you get a sense of like, they're playing this, so I guess they have this or that, and they don't have this or that. There's also another way of communicating, which is with this token here. Each player has one, and you can play it. And during the mission, you can play a card face up in front of you and place this token on it to communicate with other players. If you place a card face up and you place the token like this on top, you're telling people that that is the highest card in that suit that you have. If you place it like this at the bottom, you're telling the group that that is the lowest card you have of that suit. If you place it in the middle, you're telling the group that that is the only card in that suit that you have. And when you play that one, it still counts as being in your hand, so you'll want to take one of these neutral cards and place it in your hand as a reminder for yourself that you still have that one in your hand, and also for other people as a reminder that that card is that one. And that can be played as normal whenever it applies, because again, it counts as being in your hand for all intents and purposes. It is just a way for you to communicate somehow, in some way, to your fellow crewmates. The crew mission Deep Sea. It is very, very similar in essence to the original game. I don't think this set is gonna change anybody's mind. Meaning, if you like the original game, you're gonna like this one, and if you dislike the original one, this is not gonna make you love the system. I don't know who would dislike the original or this one. Anybody played the game would loved it, and I personally love it, and I think there is a reason why it's so highly ranked on Board Game Geek. Cooperative trick taking is awesome, and this implementation with different missions, with different parameters, huge replay value, with limited communication works perfectly. So I love the original game and I love this one. The only, again, hesitation may come if you already have the original version, should you add this one. I think these variable tasks do add a lot because then the game really becomes endless. You can choose any one scenario and it will play very differently with the tasks as opposed to the original game. Well, the scenario was just a scenario. So, incredible replay value, very different tasks, plus the idea that now again the difficulty will match the number of players much more closely because the number of tasks that you receive will change based on that. Very clever, very well done. I do not know if you own the original game, if there's gonna be enough for you to say, yes, I need another game that plays virtually the same but with different tasks. That's up to you, I guess. I'm personally happy to have both in my collections. If you haven't played the original game, you definitely you will probably want to consider starting from this one because you get what the original game can do plus these guys here, and that's pretty neat and that's pretty nice. So the crew mission Deep Sea, I guess, in its very strict loyalty to the original game, you have the biggest pro or the biggest con, depending on your perspective, because you may see it as like, yay, more of the same and I love it, or a little bit redundant. That's up to you entirely. Personally, I love both the crew games, so when given the option, I'll probably play this one again because I really like the task cards. But in that, the two games are basically the same thing.